Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Oakfield Farm. Today we're going to be harvesting some rye. We've got the Lexion out in the field here in field 34, and we have the... I've forgotten what New Holland that is. I think that might be the T6 over there with the trailer on the back. It might also be the... Well, it's... You say it's the obvious. It's either the T6 or the T7. It's one of those two. I mean, they're the only two New Hollands I have, other than the... You know, the red Fiat New Holland, but... Still. It's one of those two. By process of elimination of... I only have those two in my hands. So plans for this map, because I do have a few little plans for the map. I would like to get another couple of fields. I would like to do... a bit more with the animals. I'd like to do a bit more forestry as well, and I think something that I'd like to do with the forestry is actually selling the logs. I know I said that it's largely pointless in the past, and I still believe that. You can just make wood chips and use them for so much more stuff, and they're much more convenient to do. But I would like to do some actual logging and selling of the logs. Just so I can say I've done everything that can be done. I'd like to also get the poplars harvested. On that note, actually, I need to pause the game and go into the menu. Turn plant growth back on. Do you remember I've been saying for the last few streams that, oh no, the poplars aren't grown? That's why. I literally had plant growth turned off. I've been cheating a bit. But yeah, I'd like to get them grown up and actually do them, harvest them. If only to appease Fahy and you guys that want to see me do poplars and suffer horribly. I'd like to get the BGA running. You might notice this is a long list. I don't plan on leaving this map in the immediate term. But yeah, and the reason is there's nothing really out there that's capturing my imagination at the moment. You know, if something does come out that really captures my imagination, and I do like, by the way, before somebody says, "Oh, what about Meadowgrove?" I do like that, but I like it for different reasons than I like Oakfield. And I feel like it would be wrong of me to drop Oakfield and keep Meadowgrove. Just because, well, Meadowgrove is good. Oakfield is the closest to perfect I've ever seen in a map. In terms of like field sizes and arrays of, you know, the array of field sizes there is. And then you got the technical stuff on top of it. That's why I'm playing Oakfield so much, is because it's, so far at least, the closest we've got to a perfect map. There are still problems, like there is something, and I really wish I knew what, causing FPS issues for people. I know the common thing is to blame the FPS script. That's the thing I've heard the most. I doubt that, but I mean, it could be. Nobody's ever done a script like that before, but I know Ian898 who made the FPS script. I know he's competent, so I doubt that. By the way, this is the end of the headlands. We're only going to do 2 on this field. Where's the New Holland? We get to find out which one it is. It was the T6. I'm tempted to get horseplay running with this New Holland, but there is a problem. And that problem is that I know how horseplay works, and I know what the nearest grain storage point is like, and I know those two are mutually exclusive. Because the way horseplay works is it likes driving forwards. It really hates reversing. And if you've got something where Courseplay is going to have to reverse into something, that's gonna cause problems, big problems, very quickly. So that's why, if you ever wondered why I don't use quartz blade much. There's also the issues that you would have seen during the stream on Gamsting, the hour that I did on there, on Saturday. By the way, apologies for no stream yesterday. I don't know why, but I was insanely tired, and I knew that if I did stream it wouldn't be very good, and I'd just be kind of low energy. I'm still kind of tired now, but it's a lot easier to get the energy together for a half-hour video than it is to get the energy together for a 2-hour stream. Or an hour and a half, kind of an hour stream as it would have been, I guess, because I legitimately, like, I woke up at 11 o'clock-ish on Sunday, and I was kind of lying in bed thinking, oh, I can get up whenever I want, I can get up whenever I want, and then I fell asleep again, woke up at like 5, half 5, and that kind of ruined me. I think if I got up when I woke up at first, I would have been fine, but I didn't, and I regret it. So now it's 20 minutes to 10, or 19 minutes to 10, in real life. And I'm quite tired. And I'm only recording now, and I've got probably another 2-3 hours before I can even think about going to bed. Because I gotta sort of... Oh! Something I need to do. I hope I've activated the mod. Something I've been meaning to do for the last couple of streams and just completely forgotten about. Do I have the mod enabled? I do. The egg collector mod. This needs to go in right about there. And what this does is it's a little lighthouse, as you can see. It's literally the lighthouse from, I think Bjornholm, from FS15. But it's a little lighthouse, and what it does is it magically collects the eggs, because if giants are going to force me to have chickens that lay eggs, I'm going to find a way to get around collecting the eggs, and that's it. And it is on Giants Mod Hub. It's been up there for a while, and I just haven't used it before. If you watch Landy Kid streams, you'll spot that every so often he'll get +1 egg. That's what does it. So from now on, I will be collecting the eggs. Kind of. Because I'll just get that on every map. From what I understand, it has to be placed into the chicken area. And it'll just magically hoover up all the eggs. So for those of you who, I guess, like selling the eggs, there's an easy solution instead of having to play slowly catchy eggy. Is you just get the teeny tiny little lighthouse, which is kind of adorable because it's like squished in horizontally a small bit, but really squished vertically, and it's I say it's blatantly obvious. To somebody who knows what they're looking at, it's hilariously obvious that it's just been, you know, squished down vertically more than horizontally. Because it looks out of proportion. And I kind of like mods like that in a way, where it kind of, it's just there to do a job that, yes, it's cheating, and I'll admit it's cheating, and I usually rail against mods like that, but who cares about the chickens in Farm Sim? I'm gonna be honest, I think there's a mod where you can sell the chickens as well. I mean, that's also a really good mod, because then you don't have to deal with any chickens or any eggs. But at least with the egg collector mod, you can get a bit of extra money by selling the eggs. But yeah, that's kind of the long and the short of why I have the egg collector. It's a mod that I'd recommend if you don't particularly care about finding the eggs, but you want to get free money effectively, because it's like €100 to put down, $100, 100 money in game. You pop it down in the chicken area, and it just collects up the eggs by powers of magic egg magnets. Alternatively, bees. Probably bees. I don't know why, but I just held my breath there for no good reason. So what we're going to do with the straw off this field is we're going to bale it. We're going to set it off because that's 90% of what I do with straw. Because I find it's easier. We're going to do it with, I think, a Heston baler, just so that there's fewer bales. I'd also like to, if I can afford it when I've got the field baled, get I'll show you, I think it's baling oh, is it trucks? Do I have this pack enabled? It should be like in its own section. Yeah, the Fleagle DPW pack section. Duh. I'd like to get the Tatra Phoenix. And the reason behind that is I can attach the Fleagle DPW 150 tandem onto the back of the Phoenix. And then have double the bale capacity at any given time. Which I think is a good idea. I know Landy does it, so that's why so I think it's a good idea. It's practical. It also means that I can, in theory, maybe not in practice, do small bales on a field this size. And get away with it. It also means that I can do, with the mods you know I want to use, the Class Roland, or Farm's Class Roland with the bale attacher, or the attacher on the back, and Peter J's Nickel HS 2000, which, for those of you who might be wondering, runs off hydraulics entirely. It does not need a PTO. Because there was a very innocent question asked on FS2K. I think I went through this in the stream on Saturday as well. There was a very innocent question asked about that piece of equipment specifically, kind of in tandem with Farms Roland, in that there wasn't a PTO run-through on the Roland, and the person that asked, very innocently, like it wasn't like, oh, it doesn't have a PTO, it's unrealistic, very innocently said, well, how does the wrapper work if it doesn't have a PTO? I mean, I was under the impression that all farm equipment needed a PTO. Well, you know, wasn't an accusatory tone they were taking, even though it was through text. It was a very innocent, like, I'd like to learn more about this, please enlighten me, kind of question. Or the way that it was phrased. And it's just kind of become a running joke between a few of us that everything needs a PTO, including the header for the well, I was going to say including the header for the combine. I mean, would you look at that? It has a PTO. Because that's how the header works. I'm a fool sometimes, I really am. But including shovels and beacons. I think, well, I elevated it to beacons and shovels, but like houses need PTOs and stuff like that. You know, innocent jokes for an innocent question. But that pairing of equipment, you guys know I'm like 26. Am I 26? The people who like making fun of me for being old are gonna have a field day right now, because I genuinely can't. I think I'm 26. 21, 2017 was my last birthday. I'm 26. Shows how much I care about old age. Which meant I grew up through the 90s and early 2000s, which may as well have been the 90s, because the 90s didn't end until about 2003. And I got to see kind of the early days of round bale silage in Ireland, I would say. I know that there was stuff from the 80s as well, but the early days of it becoming mainstream, and definitely around here, where I am. And even up to today, people will still use a Class Roland for round bales, because it's reliable and it makes good bales. And it works, usually. And they'll still probably use a Mikhail HS 2000 because it's an Irish piece of equipment. And it usually works, and it's fairly reliable. Which are good things in farming, I find. So I like using that setup because it's stuff that I have seen in real life. I've seen Lexions, I've seen obviously T6s, T7s. A good number of John Deeres. Where's the T6? I hate how far away the T6 is in the tab menu. I say that. The reason that it's so far away is because I got too many tractors. But one thing that I kind of mentioned briefly on Saturday's stream was that Saturday was actually Farming Simulator's 10th birthday. From Farm Sim 08 up to Farm Sim 17, it was 10 years of Farming Simulator on Saturday. If you want to go through YouTube and find some FS08 videos, I'm sure they exist. You can see just how far the game's come in 10 years. So in 10 years' time, we're looking at Farm Sim 2027, going into 2029. I can only imagine that it'll be like a fully VR experience with tactile feedback, and well, because the gaming industry is going that way, you have to pay real money for the tractors. There'll be microtransactions everywhere and loot boxes, and that's more of an indictment on the gaming industry as a whole than Giants, by the way, because Giants, to be fair, have only gone so far as DLC so far. Although I think they have used microtransactions in the mobile games before, because the mobile games are really cheap. It's like €3-4 for the mobile version, which is kind of a lot in the mobile market, but the mobile market kind of accepts microtransactions a lot more than PC does. Or did. I still don't accept them. I try and avoid as much as possible games that insist on having them. Because that's just, I paid you my money already, I don't need to be paying you anymore. Especially like $60 titles. If I've paid you any more than €5 for a game, I expect to get the full game. Unless it's something like where it's blatantly like €5 for the base pack and then there's other packs available, and, you know, free to play, get a kind of a free pass, but it's stuff that EA and Ubisoft have been doing lately where it's, oh yeah, our games cost like $60, but that's not enough money to pay back our investment. You what? You expect the gamers to pay because you guys can't manage a budget? Or you guys over budgeted a game? That's a bit rich. And what's more than that, you expect the gamers to pay on top of the 60? Or on top of the 80, as it's slowly becoming, or on top of the $100 for the Super Platinum Mega Collector's Edition? No! Go away with that. No. On that note, I may or may not get the FS19 Collector's Edition. It really depends on... because I haven't said this. I'm saving money for things at the moment. I'm saving kind of an emergency fund in case something goes wrong with my PC again. I'm saving for FS19 so that I can buy it, basically. And I'm saving for just general stuff that I might want in the future. Like a new... I say a new mouse and keyboard, but I've got a new mouse, I've got a new keyboard. You know, various things that I might like. In an ideal world, I'd be saving up for a shed, so that I could run, you know, electricity out there from the house and use that as an office and soundproof it and insulate it and all that kind of stuff. But it's not a realistic thing. I'd still like that though. So if anybody's got a shed business and wants to sponsor the channel, but also, if somebody out there watching has a shed business and you would like to sponsor the channel, I'd be completely okay with that. Give me your best shed, and that'll fit in my garden actually. And I would totally use that as an office, and like then get green screens and all that kind of stuff set up so that I can do amazing things and actually like record and stream at night. because then, like, inside and soundproofed, I'd be in my element. I'd probably just move into the shed, if I'm being honest, because, like, I wouldn't just use that as an office. I'd probably just take that up as a bedroom, office, and whatever, I guess. Because I'm incredibly lazy. But back to the harvest. We're doing pretty well. We've got probably about just over half the field done now. It does help that I'm doing this without MR. Like, one of the things I say it helps. One of the things that I really liked about MR was the fact that it slowed the harvest down. And that might sound like a really weird thing to like, but in reality, like, you wouldn't go 10 kilometers an hour through a field being harvested. You'd more likely be going, 5, maybe even 4 kilometers an hour, depending on how dense the crop is. You'd be going at the speed the crop desired, not just a flat 10, maybe 9 if there's a bit of a hill. That's one thing that I think Giants might need to improve. And I did see I can't remember where it was, but there was an article written on Saturday or Friday, somewhere, that they were interviewing Giants about the 10 years of farm sim. And Giants basically said, we know we've effectively got within the market for our game, which is people who play farm sim, 2 separate markets. We've got the arcade guys, who basically just want to use the game as a sandbox, and we've got the hardcore guys, who basically want to use the game as a proper simulator, like me and Simulate and Landy Kid and Daggerwin, and I'm gonna call out a few YouTubers here and like categorize them into simulator or hardcore and arcade. Don't take this personally if you like the person. This is just my own personal views. Artie Allen's very arcadey. He just kind of uses the game as a sandbox to get as many John Deeres as he possibly can in there. Simulation for the Nation, I haven't seen enough, but it looks like he's very hardcore. Who else? The SimStation, extremely hardcore. More so than me. I think he still uses MR. He does a lot of G tutorials on his channel, by the way. You should totally check him out. What else can I think of off the top of my head? Stocko Claus is somewhere in the middle. He's kind of a weird one. He does a lot of simulation. He does a lot of hardcore stuff, but in an arcadey way. Who else off the top of my head can I think of? Ian Robson is, I would say, more of a hardcore guy than an arcade guy. He tries to keep things realistic, but the game kind of forces limitations on him, and the way that he wants to run his channel is different to the way I want to run mine. David Oldfield, Disco. Extreme hardcore. He is in love with MR. He loves how it works. He loves everything about it. And actually the SOB team in general do. I disagree with them on that. I disagree with the people who think MR is perfect. And you guys know the reasons why. I'm not gonna go into that rant. But like, even on YouTube, there's the clear distinction between, and the reason that I listed those people off is just so you can maybe see a hint of like what I'm talking about in the game. And I think, like, I know you guys are kind of a mix between arcadey guys and hardcore guys. And by the way, hardcore is basically realism, or as close to realism as you're willing to go in the game. So it doesn't have to be 100% realistic 100% of the time. It's just kind of people who want to get a bit more of a simulation of farming, who use stuff that they see in real life, like me with the New Hollands. And like I was saying earlier, the Class, the Roland, and the McHale. and just Mikhail stuff in general. I like using New Holland stuff because there's a New Holland dealership relatively close to me. Zetter I use quite a lot because the nearest dealership to me is actually Zetter. I find it a bit of a shame that there's no kind of... I don't want to say there's no British Irish trailers, because there are, but there's not a great range of them. And the majority of the ones that are out aren't the best quality or questionable converts like the West trailers, which I haven't tried since the initial release, but ARM team tend not to do very good converts of their stuff, unfortunately. The Marstons are fantastic. I actually love the Marstons. The problem I have with the Marstons, I think Bullet Bill will be fine with me saying this, to a certain extent, is they're very small. Basically for YouTube and my purposes here, they're a bit too small because it basically means I'm going to have to constantly be going over and back to the field. Which if I had a more courseplay friendly map, or if courseplay was a bit better, I would totally do that. And in fact I could probably do that if I had like 3 spare tractor. I do have 3 spare tractor. I could theoretically use the Marstons on courseplay. And get them going to the main yard, which would be kind of cool. But the problem would be, and I'm sure some of you will already have spotted this, the road that goes to this field is a dead end. It's a single lane road. It's quite long. Like, I could get a loop here going up to, we'll say, the easiest loop would be going up by the sawmill, up through that way, and to the storage point, and then out and down by field 15, down the other side of the road. But when you come over here, look at how long this section of road is. That's all single lane. There's no passing zones. And I basically need to try and get everything timed out so there was only ever one tractor on this stretch of road, which I think would be quite difficult. And that, by the way, is why I don't use courseplay on the majority of British maps, because especially for karting, because it's extremely difficult to come up with loops, and that's how courseplay works the best, is if you can loop things with karting, it suddenly becomes a hell of a lot easier to do anything else. So with the likes of Gamsting, granted everything's a bit tight to the field, so it's maybe not the best for using courseplay, but the road system there is very loopy, in a good way. So you can use, even if everything was single lanes, you could use those roads very easily. My favourite map from FS13, which I still can't remember the name of, was, because I course-played the crap out of that one, extreme, just everywhere you could loop. Some of the loops were really long, some of them were really short, but you could loop everything around the map pretty easily. Cobra is, comically, despite my love for it, it's... Oh, is it? In places it's really good for courseplay, I've just realised. In places it's really good, in places it's terrible. Because you can do very unique loops on Cobra, where you go through, where you use, we'll say both field entrances to make a loop. Especially at the main yard. But you can, I guess, loop on Cobra, it's just very tight. But that's the kind of stuff that I think about when I'm looking at a map in terms of using courseplay. Which, by the way, and I'm going to say this right now, out loud, I think Lone Oak's going to be very good for people who like using courseplay. I think it's going to be a very courseplay friendly map. American maps tend to be. This is a thing. Because America, because it's a relatively young country, and because it hasn't been really overly farmed all that much, a lot of the farms are really wide open, same with Australia. But there's a lot more American maps than Australian maps. Because it's so wide open like that, it's a lot easier to use courseplay. Because with the wide openness, courseplay doesn't tend to find things to hit as much. Whereas with the British map, because it's kind of very historical, how farming worked in the UK, it was passed down from father to son, and farms got completely, it just kept getting smaller and smaller, 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 because fathers had many sons and they had to split the farm up and whatnot. And then when kind of horse-drawn farming became a really big thing, it suddenly farms started getting bigger again, because you could work more land with a horse than you could by hand. So the farm started expanding, and then when they kind of hit a limit of what horses could do, and then machinery came in, and now there's basically the limit of how much you can farm is how much are you willing to spend on combines and workers and tractors and seeders and that kind of stuff. By the way, a fun little thing about Oakfield. Field 43, biggest field on the map. That I have heard a story about. I'm going to tell this real quick and then end the video. Field 43 in real life, I have heard that it takes 2 days to harvest with basically this machinery, the Lexion 770, because, again, in real life you wouldn't be going 9 or 10 kilometers an hour, you'd, especially if it's in wheat, be going more like this speed, 3, 4, 5 kilometers an hour. Because the more dense the crop, the more likely it is to gum up stuff if you're going too quickly, and the more likely it is you'll have losses if you're going too quickly. So you tend to crawl around. You can see that still, even with my crop density, it tweaks. It's still going in rather quickly into the header, and still feeding in at top speed, and still filling up at a decent rate. So I might argue that this is a realistic speed to be doing rye at, is 3 kilometers an hour. But of course you can, I've turned off cruise control, you can go at 10, the game doesn't shout at you for it. That might be something I'd like to see. I don't know if I'd like to see that added as a realism thing to the hardcore side of farm sim, as I was talking about earlier. I don't know. But I'm going to call this a video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll leave you by saying I've been RainbowDave. You've been watching Farming Simulator 17 on Oakfield Farm. Oakfield Farm, there we go. Until next time, stay safe and goodbye.